Hello friends, welcome to Global Hemp Day. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us and to salute the hardworking staff of ArcView and ICANN for coordinating this virtual gathering place today. This is the first Global Hemp Day, but I promise you, it will not be the last. Like 420, Global Hemp Day is destined to grow into an international holiday, a holiday that marks the time when humans became wise enough to adopt hemp and leave petroleum behind. A holiday that marks the time in history when we humans turned away from technology that destroys the planet and turned towards technology that heals the planet. A quick look at the news is enough to show there's never been a time when the need to change our industrial infrastructure and methodology has been more evident. Never been a time when the need to change the ways we produce the goods that we depend on for survival has been more obvious. Last week, the Zoological Society of London released a study showing that 1 million species, 1 million species, not individuals, 1 million species are in danger of rapid extinction, including 1/3 of all freshwater fish. In the United States, 1 in 10 Oregonians face evacuation from their homes due to climate-related wildfires. Whole towns have been incinerated, burned right down to the ground, and an unknown number of people have lost their lives. Same story here in California. The sky's been angry and red, even hundreds of miles away from the fires, looking like some apocalyptic, hellish nuclear winter. In Denver, Colorado, just saw its largest one-day temperature drop in 115 years. Record hurricanes have been ripping up the Gulf Coast of the United States. In Brazil, huge swaths of the Amazon have gone up in flames. In many cases, those fires were deliberately set to clear pasture land for cattle and to drive away indigenous tribes. These are just a few examples of the consequences of rampant environmental destruction that's happening all around the world. Tragically, there are many, many more examples, and it's crystal clear that these phenomena are the result of human activity. They are the result of the way that we produce and transport the goods that we consume. So there has never been a time when the adoption of hemp as a raw material has been more urgent. So let's take a look at what's possible now, today, with hemp. Imagine a truck full of packages. The body of that truck could be made from hemp bioplastic, lighter and stronger than steel. All of the boxes in that truck and all of the plastic wrapping those boxes could be made out of hemp, and probably half of the products in those boxes. And so could the uniform of the driver, and her shoes and her socks. And when she stops at a cafe for lunch, she could have a salad garnished with hemp nuts and dressed with hemp seed oil, or bread, or pasta, or pizza made from hemp flour. And the tablecloth and the napkins and the apron of the waiter could all be made out of hemp. When that driver finishes her day, she could return home to a house constructed from hempcrete, which is lighter than regular concrete, more fire and mold resistant than regular concrete, and is carbon neutral. The furniture in that home could be made from hemp fiberboard. Not one tree would be needed to cut. Not one tree would be needed to be cut to build or furnish this home. And even the carpet could be produced with natural hemp fibers instead of toxic extruded petroleum. And with every hectare of hemp we harvest to do these things, we will sequester 22 tons of atmospheric carbon. And that hemp can be successfully grown on the vast stretches of land on this planet that have been contaminated with industrial poisons. Places like the Chernobyl disaster zone, or the Italian region of Taranto, where pastures became so poisoned from industrial waste that they could no longer support the animals grazing on them or the families of the dairy farmers that depended on them. Hemp will clean up all of these poisons through a safe and natural process of phytoremediation. And when harvested, that hemp can be safely turned into ethanol. Hemp crops can be planted on land suffering from erosion to reclaim it, or on marginal land unsuitable for any other crops. All of these things are possible now, today. Nothing new needs to be invented. It all exists now. Mother Nature has given us the raw material, and it just awaits our imaginations and our hands and our willpower to fashion it into the new world we all really want to live in. Now, let's move on. Let's think about the future. Do you remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, when the whole world had to shut down? We began to get a sense of what might be possible if we listened to the lessons that Mother Nature is trying to teach us. One of the first things I noticed was a graph showing a massive drop in electrical consumption and industrial emissions when China closed down their economy. Then we began to see these incredible photographs. Dolphins swimming in clear water in the canals of Venice. The peaks of the Himalayas seen from Indian cities. Mount Kilimanjaro visible from downtown Nairobi. Scenes that most people alive today had never, ever seen before. We got this glimpse, this tiny little glimpse of what could be possible if we can find a way to shift our economy away from fossil fuels, away from the toxic products made from them. That's what the future could look like. We don't need to accept species extinction or apocalyptic fires or an overheating planet as inevitable. A different and better kind of future is possible, and hemp is the best way to get there. One of the most recent pieces of news that captures the amazing potential of hemp is the development of hemp graphene. Graphene is a semiconductor material critical to the collection of solar energy. It's currently mined in Africa at great economic and environmental cost. But a North American hemp company has now successfully produced graphene from hemp. And they're talking about making things like the skins of airplanes and automobiles and even houses out of it. A revolution in energy and transportation technology. Now, imagine replacing all of the petroleum plastics with biodegradable hemp-based plastic. We would radically reduce the amount of petroleum pumped out of the ground while simultaneously planting vastly larger quantities of the plant that's most effective at cleaning the carbon already choking our atmosphere. We would stop this crazy accumulation of discarded petroleum plastic that's created piles in our ocean that are as large as some nations. We'd start moving in the right direction instead of the wrong direction. We would start mitigating the damage instead of aggravating it. And that's the kind of smart solution we're going to need to get ourselves out of this incredible mess we've made on the planet. Now, not all of the necessary technology for a complete shift to hemp plastic exists today. But it's possible. It's imaginable. It's within reach. And I know that some of you are already working on it. Another critical task facing us if we want to save this planet is to shift away from an animal-based diet and towards a plant-based diet. And once again, hemp can help us make the change. Hemp has more protein per ounce than any meat, and it's cholesterol-free. And the amount of land and water to produce that protein, that hemp protein, would be a tiny fraction of what's required to produce an equivalent amount of meat protein. And instead of releasing methane like animals do, the hemp will remove carbon from the air as it grows. And there's already a ton of delicious hemp food products on the market. But many, many more will come in the future, right? I know that some of you, again, you're out there working on this right now. A future that fully embraces hemp is a world where almost every aspect of our lives changes, where hemp textiles have replaced synthetic fibers and cotton, where the amount of productive agricultural land is getting larger instead of smaller, where food insecurity and diseases caused by animal protein are things of the past, where our energy comes from clean, carbon-neutral hemp biodiesel or hemp-powered electrical plants, or from solar energy collected with the help of hemp graphene. It's a world where agriculture is cleaning the soil and the air instead of poisoning it, where climate change is slowing instead of speeding up, where these massive accumulations of plastic in our oceans are disappearing instead of growing. It's a world that will make a long overdue epical change in human thought and behavior, from the dying gasps of a primitive extractive petrochemical economy to a new life-affirming economy that works thoughtfully with Mother Nature instead of trying to dominate her. This is one of our possible futures. The apocalypse is not inevitable, not unless we let it become so. The skies do not have to turn red. The storms do not have to worsen, and the plagues do not have to consume us. Despite all of the destruction that's been done to our planet and to our bodies and our souls, those pictures that we saw, those canals in Venice showed us that a bright and beautiful future is still possible. And hemp is one of the best ways to get us there. The decision is in our hands. Let's make sure that all of us, all of the generations alive today, meet this test of history and perform our most sacred duty to leave an inhabitable planet to our descendants and to all of Mother Earth's children. I send my deepest love and respect and gratitude to those of you who have already taken up this mission. And I beseech those of you who may still be looking at hemp and cannabis as simply another investment or business opportunity to also recognize and support this greater work that we've embarked upon, this work of saving planet Earth. I promise you that if you take me up on it, if you join this mission, that one day you will look at your acts of service as the most precious reward you've ever received in your life. Happy Global Hemp Day. May it continue to be celebrated until it is no longer needed.